Can we hear your seeing?
Ah, okay. So basically, it was like a universal seeing of the entire universe type thing.
Mm-hmm.
To give a little bit of background, there's a lot of mythology and speculation about what the Earth is and why it's so special, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some people say it's like a prison planet and that it's quarantined. Some others say that it's an experiment and all sorts of things like that. And that the people or beings that know least about it are human beings, but that's part of the experiment. It's all a part of the creation of it so that it can work. Because if you have people who know what it is, it wouldn't actually work. And it was almost as though to give a little bit of background, when I was young, I used to see this story happening in like a vision thing. And the story went that there was a light universe, completely light, and there was a dark universe, which was completely dark. And then there was a higher intelligence who decided to join to make them see each other. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And the way that they were able to see each other, so the universal mind created a being that was both light and dark, which was unique. It didn't exist before.
Mm-hmm.
And it sent it first to the light universe. And as it entered the light universe, it infected everybody it came into contact with darkness. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
They didn't become completely dark, but they were infected with a little bit of darkness, enough to be able to be seen by the dark universe.
Okay.
And for them to see the dark universe.
Right.
And then it was sent to the dark universe, and the same thing happened. Anybody they contacted
was infected with light?
with light, yeah.
Yeah.
And then they were able to see the light universe and also be seen by the light universe. By those who weren't infected, yeah. And the nature of darkness is to basically eliminate light, because otherwise it can't really exist.
Mm-hmm.
And the nature of light is to basically eliminate darkness because of its very nature.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if you now think about the yin-yang structure, you know how that little dot on the dark is white and the little dot on the light is dark?
Yes.
Imagine that wasn't 2D, but it was a multi-dimensional thing, and that white dot and the dark dot was one and the same, one thing,
Mm-hmm.
and that was planet Earth. Yeah, and it was a location. It was more like a mishmash of light, dark, right there existing together, and it was like a location where any souls or beings that wanted to experience the other could go through to get to the other side. So dark being could go through there to get to the light universe, and a light being could go through there to get to the dark universe. So they could experience what it was like to be dark or to be light. And then, but because of the nature of both universes, there was a whole pressure, basically to eliminate the other, yeah? Because of the dark being a conquering energy, they attempted to take over, like make it into a vortex rather than a yin-yang dot, like a vortex of invasion where they would just break it open and enter the light universe and take it over.
So dark wants to conquer and light wants to embrace and incorporate?
Right. But by its very nature, light basically defeats darkness. They can't not do it because it's light.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then what happens is when this vortex started opening up from the dark side to take over the light or to eliminate the light, all these billions of light beings jumped into the vortex to stop it, right? Through their very nature of light. And then the somehow this universal mind or whatever, the collective universal mind decided, okay, experiment's over, right? And it's separating, it's taking the light dot from the dark side back into the light, and the dark dot from the light back into the dark, and it's basically separating both, yeah? Again. So that's why that feeling that the patriarchal light-dark experiment or nature of it, even darkness, is very silly and illusionary and less solid for beings of light, and how less and less accessible ascension and the light is available for those beings who are dark or have chosen to stay asleep.
I mean, I certainly see that expressed in human beings, that there is a polarized stance of the light towards the dark. It has to be transcended.
So, Anelia, you said this was, I have to give you some background first. Was what you just shared with us background, or is that your seeing that you had?
The seeing is like
what's happening now.
Yeah, the seeing is what's happening now. The background was the other stuff. I think I shared that story with you before, anyway. But now there's like that the planet is simply vortexes of, it's changed from that experiment or willingness to experience to simply removing it from existence,
Yeah, I like that. Experiment over.
Removing it from existence. Removing what from existence?
The experiment.
Of merging the two.
Right.
So basically, it does feel like it's this idea that with this ascension, you choose one or the other. And that's the world you go to.
Right. And
those who want to go to the dark get to, because that's their choice, because that's their or sovereign free will. That's that guy would say. Because that's where they need to go for the experiences that they want. And those who want the light can go there.
Yeah, the problem is that it's in the nature of both not to do that. It's like it's in the nature of darkness to conquer, and it's in the nature of light to bring light, which basically eliminates darkness. So they're both very brutal.
Yeah.
But, and that's where the tension is, that's where it's like it's that feeling that it's about to pop, Like the whole thing is going to pop and the multidimensionality will be accessible and it's going to just explode people.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen. It's extremely difficult to even pinpoint the bits of information and to express it, because it's like there's the planet, there's Gaia, and there's all sorts of different perspectives. And there's the human collective, there's individuals who are here to, like I say, I always said, well, the light's working towards a light dictatorship, and people hate that because they think that light is all-inclusive and it's oneness, which it isn't.
So I'm still not getting exactly what the difference is or what the shift is that you've perceived, because you're still talking about the tension between the light and the dark and the nature of the light and the nature of the dark, right? So what is it? Yeah. Is it that those portals are back and it's possible to go through to absolute light and absolute dark, or a splitting of the worlds in a more physical way?
Yeah, I think they're closing. Those portals are closing.
So the commerce between the different sides would be shutting down.
Yeah.
So literally a splitting of the dimensionalities so that there are two separate realities.
Exactly.
interesting, the thing that keeps coming up for me in hearing this is it's like there's been an addiction on both sides to be fighting the other side. And so what about those light workers who still want to fight the dark, and the dark who still want to fight the light?
Right, exactly.
Or what about those who have fully integrated light and dark? Where does that leave
exactly,
us?
the gray ones. I call them gray ones.
I mean, I think having fully integrated it means there is no dark and light. Right? It would be something other than gray if it was fully integrated and
yeah, the full integration, I find that when somebody fully integrates and becomes oneness, they no longer exist. They no longer exist here.
No more games are interesting to play.
Right, and they simply cease to exist as we know it.
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons why many people resist it and don't want to, yeah?
Yeah, because they still want to play.
They want to exist as they know it.
Yeah.
So I'm confused. Are you saying you exist here or you do not exist here? You who have fully integrated.
Well, I have an artificial polarity, right? That allows me to exist here. But yeah, I don't really, honestly, there isn't a real Inelia Benz. But it's an artificial, polarized experience of being here. But I'm not either light, I'm not darkness. I'm neither.
Yeah. It's like an avatar.
But you still have a body here.
Yeah, the body's, it's a construct.
It's like in the movie Avatar, right? There's that avatar body with this other consciousness in it.
I don't remember that.
Did you ever see that movie?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, the avatars were the bodies that were created to be able to exist in that other world. But the people who were driving, quote unquote, the avatars, were in a different consciousness, and they would go into that body in order to exist in that world.
And it's like the question that came up for me was those individuals who are still integrating light and dark, yeah, who are basically integrating both light and dark. Might we call them gray, Where do they go? Do they cease to exist? Do they become split? What happens to them? And and then there's all those who are resisting leaving the experiment because they're not done. Or the light ones there want to, in their perspective, save the dark side, yeah? In their perspective, which they're actually doing is eliminating it.
Mm-hmm.
And all those dark side beings who want to conquer and basically take over the light one, which is just as powerful and exactly the same result.
So I think I'm grokking finally what you're saying. So you're saying experiment is over. And if you want all light, fine. You can go into a universe with all light. And if you want all dark, fine. But there are certain people who benefited from the experiment enough to integrate both. They were a success, right?
Yes.
But it's very few.
Very few.
And so what happens to them?
They get to go to another galaxy and another universe and try something else.
Or just go home or just dissolve into oneness and be done with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Huh. Huh. That's kind of disappointing, isn't it? That so few people. Well, I mean, it was kind of a failed experiment, wasn't it?
Well, yes and no.
It was just a lot of experience.
Yeah, it was just experience.
And basically, isn't that all it is anyway? Is universal mind having experience in diversity.
I guess,
This
yeah.
particular diversity was an interesting experiment.
So don't be attached to the outcome is the lesson.
Yeah, yeah.
If you want to mount an experiment in the universe, take your own medicine and don't be attached to the outcome.
Right. Right.
Wow. So that means the joke's on us, right? That means we can all stop teaching, too.
It basically does, yes.
I was sitting with that actually yesterday, and I was, you know, how everything becomes, for everybody, it outplays in a different way, but more and more and more subtle, right? You're stripping away layers that are more and more subtle. And I was sitting there in meditation looking at, why do I still feel that I should be teaching, that this is a temporary time I'm going through where I don't want to teach, I want downtime. Why is there still a little shred of guilt there? Like, well, this is going to end and then I'll be doing what I came here to do. I was really sitting with that and looking at it and going into it. And I realized that's just another facade. It's just another process.
The guilt, you mean?
Both of them. The feeling that there's something I'm here to do,
Uh-huh.
and the guilt for not doing it. It's just this wrapper that's very,
Yes.
very subtle.
Yeah.
That I could just let go of it completely and dissolve into the oneness and dissolve into the moment, and then let the moment by moment dictate, okay, now you're going to pick up the teaching tool and do that, or now you're not going to teach, right? What difference does it make? None.
Yeah, basically. I've been past, I don't know, I said a week now, like being in absolute bliss type state. That's the only way I can express it on a human level. I haven't been enabled to lower my vibration enough to function properly. I've been finding it hard to drive and talk and converse or be, you know, part of the family or anything. At the same time, I've been sitting with, you know how it started with those Buddhists and then those shamans?
Yeah, yeah.
And I sat with some people in South America, don't know what they call them. And then I've just been sitting with these pure dark beings and pure light beings. And it's just sitting and watching. I don't even know if it's watching or just being, existing.
They're just there in your field, and you're sitting with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So is that kind of the continuation of what we talked about earlier, of just going to different groups who are confused by the full body enlightenment, right, by oneness, and going, you should shut down the lower chakras, you should open up the upper chakras, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And just allowing them to attune to your vibration.
I think it might be. Yeah.
But I thought we were saying don't have a preference. I mean,
There isn't.
All the chakras.
Yeah, that's right. It's like a tune because there isn't. I don't even have chakras actually. It's
Yeah.
they're just little creations, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's like with these other ones, there is no judgment. When I sit with them, I can feel the pure darkness. It's like pure unrestricted evil and darkness. and they can feel the pure light, which is pure, unrestricted love, light, joy, and everything else that we know as humans. And there's no judgment, and they can.
Right.
And as I sit with them, they can exist, I think.
They're both just pure being.
Yes.
And without the judgment and without the preference, there's no difference. Ultimately, they are one and the same because they are pure being in a different, I don't know, stream.
You know what it feels like? Validation.
Validation of...
Yeah, I mean, if you're sitting with a totally dark being,
Mm-hmm.
you're not judging it at all, then the message is, well, okay, that's perfectly acceptable.
Yeah.
I'm seeing you as a dark being. I'm not judging you. Why are you judging yourself? Why are you not at peace with being a completely dark being?
I don't think that they are not at peace with that, actually.
Yeah, I don't think that. I think what happens is that
It's the her that puts that on them. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I think what happens as I sit with them is that they can exist without trying to kill the other one.
Mm-hmm.
Or take it over or save it or whatever, expression of that takeover is for them. Because the original, when it first happened, when they saw each other, they both wanted to save or take the other. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
One of them wanted to engulf and conquer it and become bigger. And the other wanted to save, yeah? And show the light and show how beautiful it is. And by doing that, eliminating the other. So basically the same thing. Taking it over and eliminating
the other.
Yeah. And now they're able to see each other because they're there, but they don't have that urge to save or overtake or whatever. I don't feel it in when I'm sitting with them. I just exist and they exist.
Well, that is the validation piece that you were speaking of, Lucia. That they're just free to just be as they are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's almost like a peacemaking. It's like we've entered a time when we're no longer warring. This is peacetime. This is what it feels like.
Mm-hmm.
If you're dark, just accept that there's light. And if you're light, just accept that there's dark. But no more struggle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Is that the role that you've been playing, Anelia?
I think so. I think that's what it is. And it's from that place of existence, the urge that is part of that darkness and it's part of that light. And you cannot remove it from it to take over the other. It's not being played out. Mm-hmm. It's not that it's not there, it's just not being played out.
Mm-hmm.
Or you're saying there's the option to not play it out. This no longer has to be played out. This is okay.
Right.
Well, by taking the white dot out of the black fish, they always look like fish to me sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
And by taking the black dot out of the white fish, then there's no need. Cool.
So to whatever degree the soul learned about integration, it's okay. Experiment done.
Yes. And the great universe is unworkable. You cannot have it. It cannot exist because it will polarize. It's just the nature of that little dots of white and dark and make the gray. to polarize, to take the other over.
Mm-hmm.
So here's a question for you. Do you think we're going to be able to get on those ships, like they had the ships at the end of Lord of the Rings and they just sailed off?
To the white shores.
That'd be nice. We could just do a little pilgrimage to the ships and board and forget the whole thing.
Yeah, it feels very much that happens when you stop playing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what I was looking at in meditation the other day. I could just stop playing this game completely and be here, whatever it is, whatever the planet ends up being, wherever I end up being taken or moved to.
Exactly.